Keith's not dancing anymore.
Well, I was doing the head bob.
All right, welcome to the Vet S.O.S podcast. Remember, don't try to see a transition. Grab the Vet S.O.S Lifeline. Vet S.O.S is brought to you by the Who You Know Network and proud members of the Prairie Deck community. Today, we're sitting down with someone who's been on the show enough that he's almost considered a co-host. Great to see our good friend Peter Cline, founder of Boots to Books and co-founder of the new MilMentor Platform. Excited to sit down and discuss the awesome new resources with Peter that he has going on. And he always has some great things that he's even working on. So it's going to be fascinating. As always, make sure you're taking notes. Sitting here chilling with Keith again. Keith, how you doing?
Chilling like a villain, living the dreams always, brother. How you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. It's a good day.
Good.
And we'll keep it at that. All right. So Peter Cline is the founder of Boots to Books and Service to Success. Boots to Books is a nationwide 501c3 nonprofit that provides scholarship, career discovery opportunities, resume and interview support, and employment opportunities to members of the military community, never at any cost. Service to Success is the creator of the MilMentor.com platform and provides employers seeking to reach or hire military talent with effective ways to do so. Peter sits on various boards, has consulted for Fortune 500 companies, and participated in acquisitions, both realized and not, ranging from tens of millions to over $1 billion. Peter's a lifelong learner, avid reader, a former Don Lavoie Political Economy Fellow at George Mason University, and is currently earning his law degree at Santa Clara University. It still amazes me how much you have your hands in. I don't know how you find the time to do everything that you do, but I'm glad you do because you're giving back so much to the community, man. It's great to see you again, Peter. How you doing?
It is great to be back, and hearing that I could be an honorary co-host here, that's all I needed to hear to start my Saturday. So I'm happy and energized now. But I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, absolutely, man. Love sitting down and talking with you. So real quick, if for some reason someone hasn't seen one of your previous episodes, walk us real quick again through your transition.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I joined the infantry right after high school. I had family who had also joined the infantry and kind of always knew I wanted to do it from a young age. And joined and was shipped from the Bay Area where I grew up to Fort Benning, Georgia, which was like a total culture shock, but in the best way because I was I was like a bratty 17-year-old. I needed to go kind of get slapped by a drill sergeant, but it was great. And so had a really great career in the infantry. My contract, won various competitions, got to start my education thanks to leaders who were like, use your tuition assistance now, which I'll forever be grateful for. But as the time came to get out, I was super confident. I had started my degree. I won all these awards. I was a very high performing person in the infantry. I should be able to get a great job. And as I got out, I basically did everything that Boots to Books tells people not to do now. Like I had a blanket resume. I had no target role. I didn't network. And it wasn't an iterative process at all. It was like, I'm going to do the same thing for 3 months. And at some point I should break through. Not like, okay, it hasn't worked for a month. Maybe I should change something, try again for a month, get some feedback. And so that continued for months, and it was getting closer and closer to my transition date. And finally, I kind of swallowed my pride and reached out to Aubrey Sign, who's the co-founder of Boots to Books, and he does everything tech for us. And he would meet with me every week and look at my resume, help me look at schools, and it completely changed the game for me. I mean, I got into a great school with a scholarship, so I saved my benefits, got to start a career in finance. And so we realized quickly that the help he had given me was different. It was very personalized, and it was pushing me, not saying, take the first opportunity. It was saying, you want to go work in, mergers and acquisitions, like you can do it. It's hard, but here's the path you need to take. And so that inspired Boots to Books. So that's the short and sweet. Sean, I feel like you may be able to tell the story at this point with how many times.
This is true. This is true. But I'll tell you what, I love hearing it every single time, man, because it truly, is a great story about learning, what not to do and how to do it the right way. Yeah. And then, how you were able to create an amazing organization that has helped so many in our community and continues to help so many.
And I know we're here to talk about yet another amazing program that you're starting up. But before we do, I actually want to ask a question because this is my first time being as the co-host of the podcast where you've been on. We met at the making stuff, but for the listeners, maybe you've talked about this before, but I'm curious, what advice, right? So most of the folks in our space, 20 plus years, got some years under their belt, they're older, more mature, blah, 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 blah. You're a 20 something, dude. And you come out of the infantry, grunt, knuckle dragger, all that, whatever you want to call it, right? And you have multiple veteran support organizations and they're thriving, they're flourishing. Like, what advice would you give to other younger veterans, transitioning service members that are coming out thinking, I'm only 21, I'm only 22. What can I bring to the table that just think they got to go start flipping burgers at McDonald's?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like if you are extremely young, I think there's two pieces of advice. I'd say one is like take the shot. If there's something very risky you want to do it now. That is if you don't have a family and kids. Like, I got out of the military, single, 21 years old, honorably discharged, GI Bill, VA loan. Like that is a really, really fantastic position to be in for your life. And so, if you get out in that position or, you're in your 20s and you do not have a family or you have a little bit of cash saved up, like if there's a risk you want to take it. Because your tolerance for risk decreases with age. Both, mentally, but also like financially, you are closer to retirement. There's less time to recover. And so if you are young and get out, take the risk. Go work for the small startup, go try and start your own company, go travel, whatever it is. I'd say the second is if you are getting out, you should not immediately, for most folks who are in my kind of group, you should not immediately be going and saying like, I want to go be an executive or I want to go, like, you should be willing to come in on the ground floor if it's something that will really, really help you grow. Like if you're, like I think getting out and going to an MBA program is a fantastic idea. I think before you try and start a company, you should go try and work at a really great one for a few years. And so I think if you can get out and get, 2 or 3 years of like foundational work experience at a really, really good company, doing a role that will benefit you no matter what you do, that lets you understand kind of the business at large, that will set you up for success. I think too many folks either get out and refuse to take the risk that they really want to start a business or, go try and land
Mm-hmm.
that really difficult job or change industries, whatever it is, but the thing that will, make them happy. And then I also think on the flip side of that, some folks are too quick to do so. And they want to like jump straight from the military into doing something. And they haven't yet kind of, like if you get out of the military and immediately try and launch a consulting firm for civilian businesses, that's going to be wildly challenging because you've
Yeah.
never been inside a civilian business and seen how it works. So you don't exactly know what right looks like. Um, Not that you can't help them because there's plenty of things in the military that could be brought to the private sector and help, but like it just makes a lot less sense than if you get out, worked in consulting for 2 years, started your own shop, and then kind of had the benefit of both. Uh, so those are kind of the two. Don't be afraid, kind of coming on the ground floor and build yourself up because it means a lot, and a private sector network is important. And then the second is take the shot.
Great advice.
Oh yeah,
Love it.
absolutely. The only thing I heard in that whole conversation though was something about being old that stuck with me. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a little sensitive now as I'm closing in on 50.
Get plenty of time. Get plenty of time. I come from the finance world. That's the typical adage. You got to de-risk with age.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. But and along the lines of what you were saying though is working for a really great company. The Forbes puts out a Forbes top 100 list of companies, and if you ever look at that list, it's a fascinating list of major companies in the U.S. that the majority have military programs. They are military. They support the military veterans coming in to work there. So it's great opportunities now to do exactly what you said. Get out, go, work for one of these major companies for a couple of years, get some experience, and then pursue your education and then do your thing. I love that roadmap.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And I mean, there's such a I think that's a very worthwhile pursuit of like doing some sort of research like that, because I think there are certain companies who are very good at marketing their military programs, and they're great. I mean, they're fantastic companies, don't get me wrong. But there's others that also have these amazing programs that, like, if you were to go on like a top 100 list, pick them out and then Google, look up their name, comma, veterans program, you'd be like, oh my gosh, here's one that is far less applied to, but equally as good.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, completely agree. And startups. Like if you're in the younger kind of group, or even if you're not, but you have some stability and some cushion, like Y Combinator has a job board that is all jobs at well-funded startups.
Hmm.
The economy is getting a little spicier now, and so the risk is increasing. But that's the first job I had full time after school, was at a startup, and I loved it. It was like 10 people, and learned an incredible amount, and then went to a 5,000 person company. So
And what was that website?
the startup, T4, it's T4.ai. They're a strategy consulting firm.
Okay. Okay. Great
And
resource.
what was the website where people can find those startups? Was it Y something?
For finding the roles. Yeah, it's Y Combinator. It's their startup job board. If you just Google Y
Okay,
Combinator jobs, I think it's startupjobs.com. Might
interesting.
actually be.
Okay. Okay.
Cool.
So let's jump into MilMentor.
Let's do it.
What is it? Why did you feel the need to create it? Let's get a little background on it there too.
Yeah. So MilMentor, the goal of it is to connect people in the military community with folks who want to support them at scale. That is kind of the very highest level. The goal really is somebody in the military community can go on this platform and search 500 plus mentors in various industries doing various things. So whether you're looking to become a cybersecurity analyst, or you want to start your own company, whether you want to work at Disney or General Dynamics, you can go on there and find somebody, really easily pull their profile up, and they've already integrated their calendar. So you can say, okay, I see Keith's on here. He's a cybersecurity program manager. Okay, I'm going to pull up his calendar, and Keith has already said, I'm available Wednesdays from 11 to 2 to speak with folks who want assistance. And so there's no back and forth, no scheduling, no, hey, is it okay if we chat? Keith's already said, yes, please come talk to me. And so I'll simply click on his profile, request a time, and then he accepts it. And so it's that easy to find and schedule time with somebody in your dream role, at your dream company, to get advice on everything from the resume to the interview to exploring a career to your startup, really anything you could imagine. And there are over 500 mentors now. There's over 2,000 folks looking for mentors. Some weeks there are like 30 calls a week. There's a real range, which is really cool to see. And the feedback is fantastic. There's two ways to get a call now, which I'll also add, and then I'll pause for a second. You can go on the platform now and either request a call with somebody. Like if I'm a person looking for a mentor, I could request a call with Keith via phone. And then at that scheduled time, we would both automatically get a call from MilMentor. We just accept, and then it connects us. Or the second way now is via Zoom. And so I can choose in the scheduling process to say, I want to talk to him on video. I want to screen share. I want to do whatever, just be a little more personal. And it'll send a Zoom link, calendar invite to both parties, and, have a little
Nice.
dashboard where you can find it. So it's going really well. I mean, Sean, since we last talked, I think every single 5 days we have pushed out new features. So
Wow.
we truly, I mean, we've talked to, I think, 200 or some folks who've signed up for the platform, polled them on like what features they want. Video calls was obviously very high, prioritize them every single week, push some. So we are burning the speed of code for that thing, which is, something we're happy about. We're trying to keep the pace up and like make it truly, always free, but the best possible resource for folks to go find a mentor, and then in the future, careers and resources that are relevant to them.
I think that's one of the things that impresses me most about it is you guys are really open to feedback, and making changes as they make sense and what have you. And I'm curious on the Zoom call, um, if the mentee wants to do a Zoom call, does the mentor have an option to say yes or no?
So
And I don't mean that from the standpoint I don't want to see this person on video. I prefer Zoom anyway. But what if you're at work and you can't do Zoom or something? I mean, is there that type of option?
Yeah, yeah. So there's two ways you can do it. You can either say, I'm only open to phone calls, no matter what time it
Okay.
is. Don't send me a Zoom. Or you can say, when somebody does send you a Zoom, if you're open to it, you can respond back to it and say, can't do a Zoom at this time, but I can do a phone call. So there's a reschedule
Nice.
feature.
Okay.
So you can also reschedule the format of the call.
Okay.
Nice.
Um,
And
but
in
reschedule feature
Zoom,
is like 4 weeks ago. So speed.
nice. That was one of the things I asked you to change. That I love that. Thank you. So,
It was.
and that's it. And that's a great thing for folks to hear too. Is you are. I'll just attest that you and everybody y'all are so reachable and open to the feedback, and it's all being considered. And yeah, you're just trying. It's evident you're trying to put out the best possible service. Uh, not for profit or anything like for other than just to help our service members and veterans and military community. Real quick question. So I prefer Microsoft Teams just because that's the one I use most. But I mean but that's because I don't pay for Zoom, right? So I was just curious because the unpaid version of Zoom you only get 40 minutes. Through MilMentor, do you get the full hour or so through Zoom, or is there a time limit on it?
Still 40 minutes,
Okay.
unless, of course, I think if one of the people has a premium account, they
Okay.
can assume host and keep it going. But default to 40 minutes. I think the call lengths are 30 that people are scheduling, so it kind of gives them a 10-minute buffer over, and then they can schedule with their mentor if they want a little more. But for
Nice.
now,
Yeah.
40. But I mean, I'll say Zoom setting up video calls was shockingly easy, versus
Nice.
doing the Twilio integration to do phone calls. Oh my goodness, the phone calls was a battle because there's no off the shelf integration for it. Zoom was like much more off the shelf, so I would imagine that the Teams, Google Meet would be the same.
Okay. So what's the reasoning behind it? Why did you feel you had to start something like MilMentor?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we all saw that there was a platform that was amazing, Betterati, that we were, Boots to Book specifically was referring. I mean, almost every single person we talked to the platform, like, aggressively, like, hey, before you do anything, go talk to somebody in that job and make sure you want to do it. Hey, before you do this cert, go talk to somebody in this job and make sure the cert makes sense. Like, is your training? Talk to somebody once a week that's in your desired role. Like, we were really pushing it, because we were very aware of the difference that it makes. Like, we had seen it change people's lives. I met a Boots to Books board member on Veterati, Patrick Gillespie, who's a managing director at Guidepoint Security. This brilliant, amazing guy. So it had, done things for me personally. It had helped so many users from Boots to Books. So we loved it. So when it went down, we got like a flood of emails like, hey, you referred me to this, by the way, like, it's going away. Like, did you guys know about this? Or like, hey, are you guys going to do anything about this? And Jay got, a similar raft of emails, probably more, because he is, he's, very, very out there in the public space. And him and I connected and we're like, okay, like, this would be a great thing to work together on. We're already doing a lot on the hiring side, of the things that kind of go beyond the scope of what the nonprofits do. Let's do the MilMentor side as well, or do a mentorship platform as well. And so initially we wanted to do something with what was existing with Betterati, and reached out to them, and it didn't work out. I don't think that the timing was right. So we were like, okay, that's fine. I think the platform needed re-architecting anyways, was the messaging we got. And so, okay. And the goal is to really honor that legacy, because they were, what they did was amazing. But I think what we can do is, really build something completely different and new, in the sense of completely different code, branding, everything like that. But also, we didn't stop at phone calls. We can add video, we can add careers, we can add resources. I think the benefit we have is just the pace of development and the skill that is on our team, to push code very, very, very quickly and very accurately, to the point of, like, it's been, I guess, 4 months that the mentorship side has really been out and being pushed. And it's, we feel like it's getting closer and closer to being done every day. And it's more like tweaks we make to the feed algorithm and things like that's still nowhere close to done. But, there's some
Yeah.
things that will always be edited. But so that's kind of, I think, what's special is, I think we can pick up this legacy, but do it in a different way, adding, in an additive way as well, which will be really, really cool. So we're close to done. Another 50 lines on the product roadmap, and those are all with sub bullets.
Well, for clarification for the audience, if you don't know, he's talking about Jay Salters with Act Now Education. And I'm telling you, the two of you coming together to collaborate on something, I wouldn't bet against it. And I mean, granted, I'm not a gambler, but still, the two individuals that have created two amazing organizations. They're doing fantastic things for our community, and you guys coming together to create this, fill this void, and Veterati was huge for me in my transition. I was averaging 5 calls a week,
Wow.
and I was crossing things off the list. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Cause that's who I was calling, was those people. I think I want to get a
Way to do it.
PMP. Take PMP off the list, and it was valuable to me. And so I'm so happy that you guys have done this. And, I'm proud to be on the platform. I know Keith's on the platform, and definitely glad to support and get people to contact it and get in there. Now, I will do a shameless plug that I would love to do a few more mentorship calls. So if you're looking
Come
for a
on.
mentor, please look me up. I'd love to have a few more calls.
There we go.
Um, what
Yeah.
about you, Keith? How are you enjoying it so far?
I'm loving it. And yeah, I mean the predecessor MilMentor, not MilMentor, Veterati had, it had its shortcomings. And again, I love the versatility of this program, how quickly it's adapting. And I'm not getting paid to say that. It's just, yeah, I
Excellent.
see I see a whole lot of potential with the adaptability of what y'all are doing over there. And a unique feature I did not think of that I saw was put in there, and I love it, and I wonder if I'll always love it or not, is the rating feature. Like, like, get to rate some folks, because I mean, and the reason I'm like, do I really like it? Because somebody may call me thinking I'm able to give them the world experience on XYZ. And that's just not my background for whatever reason. And there was a misconception on my profile or something. And I might get a low rating from that person, so but just, I'm not against it. I love the idea because, one of my nicknames is the Band-Aid Ripper. If you give me a 1-star rating because I told you what I think you needed to hear and you didn't want to hear it and you didn't like hearing it, go ahead and give me a 1 star. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, and that's the transparency of this community, right? Like I always tell people, find a mentor, find 10. We can't all tell you one person can't tell you everything you need to hear. And to Sean's point, yeah, Colin. I mean, I didn't even know about Veterati when I got out, so I learned a lot of things the hard way. But yeah, I mean, the services that are being provided and the opportunities that you all are providing is amazing. And I had seen somewhere that MilMentor is going to provide like unlimited mentorship connections supported by Fortune 500 companies. How did y'all structure these corporate partnerships to ensure that like you're delivering the meaningful value to veterans?
Yeah. Yeah. So right now, I mean, the first, I guess, two or three, yeah, I guess 2 or 3 big partnerships are now finalizing, one of which is just about done. Um, and I mean, I think the biggest thing is that nothing will change the feed algorithm, the way we recommend mentors, the way that we hold calls, the process to find a call. Like I think we've been very, very kind of clear and directive on that. Of like, we will not corrupt the process right now. We're happy to put logos on. We're happy to shout out brands in the process if you were making this possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because of course, like any company that wants to make mentorship possible, we're like, let's go. But we will not be like, we'll only recommend mentors from XYZ company because you guys paid us. No, no. So
Yeah.
there's kind of that hard line in the sand of we are being, one, I think, very selective with the partners we work with. We haven't done any outreach to try and get sponsors or try and get anything from it. It has been kind of completely closed. There's no way to get in contact with us on the landing page. So it's all been like 3 or 4 very large companies that you would immediately like kind of the companies you see sponsoring all the conferences, who are very, very passionate about the community. who we are kind of being very slow and intentional with of trying to do it the right way. And I think that right way is, some of them have good resources to match folks with careers or gives folks free training and things like that. And I think we are a lot faster to integrate something like that than, some like change to recommendations. So it's going slowly. I mean, you'll see one of them come up in the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, probably. Now, since this will be going out, in the summer, this will have already happened. But for you guys, live, you'll see it in a few weeks, and I think you'll see like it's a sponsorship. It offers resources, but it is very clearly not getting in the way of folks finding the right mentor.
That's something I think, from what I know about you and discussions we've had, you are one of the smartest people I know when it comes to strategic partnerships. Like, you're not about just bringing in everybody and this and that. You're very, it has to make sense. And I think you approach it with that common sense approach. And, it always makes me a little leery when I get on a website, especially, and there's a couple veteran websites out there you can see where it almost looks like a NASCAR uh, car with all the sponsorship
I know
stuff
what
on
you're
there.
talking about. Yeah.
And I've said that from the beginning. Yeah, I want sponsors for the podcast, but I want it to make sense. I'm not gonna, I don't need to go get John Deere to sponsor the podcast, because we don't do anything with tractors. But if it made sense for some reason, they had a program, whatever, who knows?
Yeah.
But it has to make sense, and I think that's a big deal. And
Yeah, I mean I think that's an interesting thing for folks starting businesses to think about, or kind of, and it broadly, like I think there's a lot of folks who make partnerships just to say they made a partnership, just for the announcement. And I think like that sentiment of like doing things that probably don't move the needle that much, but are like aesthetically pleasing, is like doesn't do anything. Like, you should stop doing it. I think that is a valuable lesson, because I mean, I think every single person who's started an organization, like I'm sure you guys did at Boots to Books, did it a ton of like, yeah, we're going to partner with them. And like, in reality, it should have just been like, give us info on your programs and we can refer folks over if it makes sense. We don't need a formal partnership. But, lessons learned after like writing kind of 100 pointless MOUs, but like, it's part of it.
Yep. I got you. And it's something that, we're taking a look at as we convert over to the nonprofit space. And, that we want to have official partnerships, but we also want them to be, specific resources that we know, trust, and love, that, we want to refer people over there and have them, not come back to us going, why'd you send us to those guys? And so it's, finding those right partners that make sense and are to the betterment of the community. But
yeah, and I'll say, there's benefit to an like for you guys, if one of the biggest things is, viewers, that's a way you can make an impact. That's people getting this information. It's, is very valuable. Like, formal partnerships can make a lot more sense for you all when it's like a informal one. Like, if you partnered with, let's say, like Boots to Books informally, the pressure to drive folks your way is kind of non-existent. But if you guys are like, oh, like Wounded Warrior wants to talk to us, and they're, if you can get it formalized to where you'll be part of some workflow or shared every week or something like that, then it's like, there's a side to every story. But
yeah,
that would be a partnership that makes sense, though.
Yep. I can't believe it. I just looked at the clock.
Yeah, I looked down like 2 minutes ago. I was like, holy geez, all right, we're at time. So,
oh, gosh. I like talking to you guys. This is a fun group to join, I'm telling you.
well, it's absolutely having a pleasure on the show. Pleasure having you on the show. I need coffee. Anyway.
Well, good thing we got the co-host Peter Cline here to fill in for you.
Exactly, right? Eric's been pining to fire me for the last 4 months anyway. So no, all I have to say, Peter, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I just want to make one last statement, which Sean alluded to it earlier. And I think it's so valuable for our transitioning service members, but really anybody in transition, which we all are in some capacity. the great thing about MilMentor is like ACP, right? They provide you with mentors too. Like all the other organizations provide you with mentorship stuff too, but it's more kind of long term and specialized in that industry. As Sean mentioned, MilMentor is a great, quick kind of not necessarily one and done. You might build some relationship out of it, but quick ways to get deep dives into all these different industries and cross things off that list. I think that's a hugely valuable insight for our folks to hear. And MilMentor, yeah, it's one of the best resources out there that I know of to do it. So go check it out if you haven't signed up as a mentor or as a mentee. Get on there, get signed up, and get participating. So, all right, Peter, last question because we are overtime in a way. But I'll say, what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you if they want to support, ask questions, whatever it might be?
Yeah, I'd say LinkedIn, and they can find me there. They can, Boots to Books, MilMentor, everything is right there. So that would be best. And I'll also just respond to the one thing you said. I think you were completely right. I think MilMentor and something like American Corporate Partners are wildly complementary. Like I had this conversation with Leslie Coffey, who is, top 10 greatest people of all time over there. And she's
she's a
everyone
Kentucky
you can
fan.
ever talk to loves
that in.
yeah, that should tell you something about her. But we thought the same thing. It's like, yeah, before you get a long-term mentor, it makes sense to do these one-off calls and do career exploration. And even while you have that mentor, they might tell you you should research more about how you should upskill or you should build your network in this field. And those are things that you can accomplish with one-off calls while still having a long-term mentor. So completely agree. Both are free. Use all your resources.
Absolutely. All right, Peter. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again
Thank
so
you
much
both.
for being on the show. And on behalf of the entire Vet SOS family, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Vet SOS is growing and spreading its wings. You can follow us on all the social media platforms. Make sure to check out all 3 of our shows and more to come. And follow, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast from. We're on YouTube, Reach Across America Radio, The Parade Deck, and all your favorite podcast platforms. And as always, remember, don't drown in that sea of transition. Grab the Vet SOS Lifeline.